Hey guys, welcome back to the vlog. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be at Capital Casino playing in our usual 1-3 no limit game. We buy in for $500, and sometimes the best hands you win are the ones you don't lose. I know that sounds strange, but it'll all make sense later on. I also want to talk to you about how to get $50 in free Bitcoin. I'll be dropping some hints along the way, and then we'll talk about that later. So sit back, relax, enjoy. Here it comes. Well, I started out the session down $100 after I attempted to bluff someone that didn't have much behind, and it didn't work out. Here we have Ace King in the +1 position, open for a raise to $20. Get called by the player on the button, and we're going to go heads up to a flop. Flop is not bad. 10, 7, 7. If they don't have a 10 or a 7, we're in pretty good shape. I decided to lead for $20. They make a quick call. Now this player's a little bit loose, so he can have a very wide range. Turn card looks like a complete blank. I'm going to try to price out some of his non-paired hands. So I go $50 here. And again, he doesn't think long before he makes the call. So I might be up against a player who's really sticky with an ace, or someone that has a pocket pair. River card comes is the ace of spades. Of course, this makes me top pair, top kicker, but also kind of scares away some of his paired hands. I decided to check it to him. If he has an ace that he was calling with, he'll stick it all in. And if he has a small pair, well, he probably wouldn't call a bet on the end anyway. He ends up checking it back. I turn my hand over, and he's kind of proud of himself for not betting.
Just bet your hand. With that stack size on that size pot, he's going to be calling with anything. He might even call you with a lower pair, which he probably had. So bet your freaking hand.
All right, we have one player limp in early position. We look down at ace 10 offsuit. Decide to raise to $30. Get call from the player in the blind. Now he just sat down. He seems like he's anxious to gamble a little bit, so I'm more than happy to gamble with him. So we're going to go off to a flop heads up with $64 in the center. And the flop is above average. Comes ace, ace, 5 with 2 spades. He quickly checks. I don't know how much money I can get out of him, but I'm going to go for $15, hoping that he'll put in a loose call. Maybe he has a pair. Maybe he has some sort of flush draw. He puts in the 15, and we're going to see the turn card. Now, the turn card is a king, and it doesn't really help his hand too much, I don't think. And he checked again, so I decided to check behind. He has a very small stack. Shouldn't be hard to get all the chips in later on. River card I don't like. It's a jack of clubs. Now we happen to have a bare ace. His kicker is going to play with mine because I'm playing the king and the jack on the board. He leads out for $25. I decide just to jam it all in now. He only has about $70 behind. He flips his cards face up, shows that he has an ace, and he folds. So guys, if you have an ace in this spot, with $70 behind, you just have to call it off. I mean, you can't fold that hand. You just have to call it off. If the guy has you beat, he has you beat, but you got to call that off. People often say that I play very, very tight range, and that's mostly true, but occasionally I'll throw a hand in like this. 9-6 of diamonds. I got 2 limpers in front of me. I decided to raise to $30. Just trying to take down the blinds. I end up getting 2 callers. The small and the big blind. Both limpers ended up folding. So we go 3 ways to a flop, which comes out the beautiful ace, king, 8 with 2 clubs. Not a great flop for my hand particularly, but it's very good for my range. And both my opponents check. Green light to go ahead and take this down. They probably don't have an ace. And if they do, they probably don't have a very good kicker. And by the size of my bet, they most likely going to think that I'm going to continue. Small blind folds rather quickly. Big blind, who has a very short stack, thinks for a long time, but this is the same player who folded the ace 8, and he folds this one too. Of course, most of the time I'm doing it with some legitimate raising hands. Here I have king, queen suited, put in a raise pre-flop, get called in 4 spots, and the flop comes out really bad for my hand. It was like 8 high and just had a fold. And here again, I have another raising hand. I have king jack, and I get called in a bunch of spots. No good. On the button here, I got pocket eights. I put in a raise, and this time everyone folds and I take it down. But I've been very active, and I think people are curious about my hands I'm raising with. Well, this time I happen to pick up a premium. I have pocket kings in the hijack. I have 2 limpers in front of me again, and I raise to 25. This time I get a lot of people interested in seeing the flop. In fact, 4 of them. So with 5 players going to see a flop with $129 in the center, hopefully the dealer can help me out and put something up there good. Well, it's not bad. It's Jack 8-3 rainbow. Jack 8 is really the only 2-pair combination. Of course, there are some pocket 3s and 8s out there. I think Jacks would probably re-raised at some point. So most likely I'm going to be up against a hand like a Jack or maybe something like a 9-10. I'm going to lead for half pot, $60. Player on the button who has a stack maybe around 330 to start with decides that he's going to make a stand here and put it in a raise. He makes it 160. The other players fold out, and of course I'm not going to be going anywhere. I told him I'm all in, get the rest of the chips in there. He says he's gambling and he's going to be calling it off. Turn is a 4 of clubs. River is a queen of diamonds. I show my kings and they're good. He had Jack 10 of clubs. Now this gentleman is a fan of the vlog. He did have top pair and some backdoor draws to the straight and the flush. He did pick up the 4 of clubs on that turn card. So I think either way the money was going in. He just happened to run into someone with a better hand today. So best of luck to him next time. Well, I've been playing for about 3 hours now, and the game's starting to peter out a little bit. Some of the bigger stacks have left. So after this hand, where I raise with ace king and get no action, I decided to leave for the day. But don't worry, we have more action coming. Hey, I know this is not poker related, but free $50 is free $50. Only thing you have to do is sign up for a Gemini credit card. Basically, it's a Bitcoin credit card, so all your rewards are given back to you in Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency of your choice. They'll give you $50 in Bitcoin or the crypto of your choice just for signing up. And they have some great cashback offers. Like this summer, they're giving 10% back on all golf you play. And 4% back on your gas transportation, 3% on dining out. I've been using it. I've been loving it. I've been stacking Bitcoin, and you can too. Just check the referral link in my description on the vlog, and you can hop on there, check it out. I highly, highly recommend it, and it is Zeus approved. Well, this is day 2 of the week, and it starts off rather slow. I pick up a hand like ace jack of diamonds. There was a bunch of limpers. I raised to 25, and they all end up folding, so I'm just picking up some blinds. The next hand I end up playing, I had ace 6 suited. I attacked the blinds with a raise. I get called in 2 spots. We see a flop that comes queen high, and I just c-bet and take it down. We're a little over an hour into our session when we pick up pocket aces from the +1 position. Open for a raise to 15 because everyone was folding to my larger size opens, and I kind of wanted some action on this one. I do end up getting 2 callers for the 15, and we're going to go 3 ways to a flop with $49 in the center. Flop comes out 4-3 deuce rainbow. Not a bad flop, but of course it's not the greatest in the world when your opponents could have hands like 5-6 or small pocket pairs. I do end up leading for $15, and I get 1 call from the player in the cutoff. The other one folds out, and we see a 7 of spades on the turn. Pretty good turn card overall. Doesn't really change too much, or really shouldn't. Seems like a pretty good card to bet again. I decided to go for about half pot here, $40. Kind of want to get some action for someone with maybe a pair, and maybe they're going to have that straight draw, which is one of the bigger concerns of mine. My opponent puts in a quick call, and we see the river card of the ace of spades. Well, it's always nice to make top set, except when it brings in the obvious straight draw and the flush draw. Not in love with my hand anymore. A 5 was one of the things I was putting my opponent on. I check it over to him, and now he makes a bet of $40. Now this bet sizing seems very value heavy. I mean, he doesn't want to be bluffing me. He wants me to call, of course. I'm not really in love with it, but I'm thinking it's possible that he might be overvaluing a hand. Maybe he had like a 4 and an ace kicker and made aces up. Flush draw gets there too. It's not a good spot, but I can't fold for $40, so I put it in, and he shows me pocket sevens. I'm more than happy to turn over my aces and take the pot down, but wow, I really didn't like making that call. Well, about an hour and a half later, I pick up pocket tens, and there was 2 limpers in front. I raise to $25. I get a call from the player in the small blind, who's been playing very tight today. So I'm thinking he has a pretty strong hand because he actually asked how much it was and that before he made the call. So it was almost like he was thinking about maybe raising. Flop comes out king 6-5 with 2 clubs. Not a great flop for tens. It gets checked over to me. I'm just going to take a free card. The turn card comes as a 4 of clubs. My opponent in the small blind double checks his cards to see if he has a club and checks it. I think I can go ahead and bet here and charge him for his flush draws. If he had a pair in the flush draw, say like king, queen with a queen of clubs, I think he would have probably bet. He does put in the call. The other player folds out, and we get a 9 on the end. I think it's just check this back, take my showdown value, and he shows me pocket queens with the queen of clubs. Well, I've been card dead for almost the entire day. It's been 3 hours, and I think I only played like 2 or 3 hands. And here I am with ace, queen, offsuit. There was an open to 17, a call for the 17, and the player to my right, who plays an extremely tight range, goes all in for $103. It's a lot of times I would try to isolate them and head to the flop, but I think I'm behind their range, and not only that, I think I'm behind the other players' ranges too, because the opener is someone who plays a very tight range too. The caller in between them, solid player who has a good feel for the game. So it gets back around to the opener, and he makes the call, and the player in between also makes the call. So they're going to go 3 ways to a flop, and there's like $318 in the main. Now, they don't have a side pot yet, but the opener has a little over $500, and the player next to him has him covered. Flop comes up 7 deuce deuce. So if you're playing the 7 deuce game, you're pretty happy at this point. First player leads for a stack. He thought it was 100, but there were some dirty chips in there, so it was only $92. I don't know whether they made a difference in the reaction from the next player. Maybe he saw it as a sign of weakness, so he decides to just get it all in right now. I don't think he has pocket sevens in his hand, but he jams all in, has the other player covered. And of course, the other player makes a very quick snap call. I think they both have some pretty big hands. We're going to see what comes on the turn in the river. 5 of spades, blank, jack of hearts, and the opponent who shoved all in has pocket jacks to beat the other player with pocket queens. The final player had pocket kings. Now I add this to the blog just to show that sometimes you get a very playable hand and you've been card dead and you're just itching to play, and it's just the wrong time. Like a lot of people, I would have went ahead and put in a 4-bet to isolate the all-in player, and it wouldn't have worked. I would have got called. I might have probably got shoved on. I would have been like priced in to call off. It would have been really ugly. But having the discipline to let these hands go when you know that they're not good is difficult, but it is worth its weight in gold. I did end up winning a very small pot when I had king, jack, and flop top pair. Other than that, the day was very quiet until this fun hand came along. I'm on the button with king 5 suited. There are a ton of limpers in front of me. Sometimes I isolate, other times I'll just limp along. Here I limped along, get a raise from the player in the small blind to $13. Very reasonable Two of the players end up folding for the small raise. Of course, myself and two other players make the call. So we go 4 ways to a flop with $58 in the center. Flop comes out 5-4-3 with 1 diamond. Not a bad flop. I got top pair, decent kicker. The initial raiser leads out for $20, gets a quick call from the player on his left, and then another call from the player in the middle of the table. Here I could raise, but the board is very coordinated, and I am up against 3 other players, so I decided to call and just use my position to gain more information on the turn. Turn card is Ace of Diamonds. Very good scare card. If no one has an ace, I think I can probably steal this. I did pick up a flush draw, of course. When it's checked to me, I'm going to make a larger size bet. I make it $75. My goal here is to get someone to fold a lot of equity against my bet. If they have an ace, I still have a 5, a king, or a diamond to catch on the end. First 2 players ended up folding. The third player, on the other hand, wasn't interested in folding. He makes a quick call after the other 2 players fold out. He has at least an ace in my mind. I got to hit something, and I do catch the 7 of diamonds on the end for a runner nut flush. He checked it over to me. I said all in. He snap calls. I show my flush, and he ended up showing that he had ace deuce, so he flopped the wheel. I ended up playing 4.5 hours that day and was really completely card dead except for a few hands that I just showed you. So it was not a pretty day to play, but sometimes you have to make the best of what you're dealt with. For the week, we ended up winning a little over $1,100, which is really good for the hands I received. The only one I really got paid off on was the pocket kings. Of course, the runner flush also helped. And I didn't lose with that ace queen hand, and I didn't lose with my pocket aces against pocket sevens hand. Those were some pretty key hands to keeping the bankroll growing. Anyway, I appreciate you making it to the end of the video. I do highly recommend you checking out the Gemini Bitcoin Credit Card. Just look at the description on my video. There's a link there. You can click right over into it, sign up, and you'll get started with $50 in free Bitcoin. For me, it's a no-brainer. I hope everyone takes advantage of it. And until next week, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.